Another plot twist in the real life drama series playing out between President Trump and the Federal Reserve. I've been calling it the Real Housewives of the Central Bank, and it really is shaping up to be a reboot of a bad reality TV show. Except now it seems the show might play out in court. How will the theatrics impact the credibility of both offices? How does the melodrama move markets? And will the scandal sabotage your real estate strategy? A little history lesson for those of you who only really pay attention to the Fed as it pertains to mortgage interest rates. I used to be just like you. I feel you. Let me fill you in on what I know. The Federal Reserve was born as a result of a series of banking crises that made it painfully clear that the U.S. needed a more stable, elastic, and coordinated financial system. That was back in 1913, and prior to that, chaos reigned and the markets suffered as a result. The most notable banking disaster back then was the Panic of 1907, when bank runs nearly collapsed the entire financial system. So then, bankers and policymakers joined together to create a decentralized central bank. From day one, the Fed was designed to be independent. Why? To prevent short-term political pressures, especially around elections, because that would distort monetary policy. They wanted the central bank to instead focus on long-term economic stability rather than popular trends. You see, politicians think in 2 to 6 year windows, right? And they favor lower interest rates because that stimulates both the economy and their approval ratings. The Fed is designed to think in 10 to 20 year arcs so it can maintain trust in the dollar. Recent political attempts to fire Fed governors, publicly shame policy decisions, and stack the board with loyalists all threaten this delicate balance. I'm urging you to take that seriously, and I'm someone who benefits maybe even more than politicians do from lower interest rates. So hear me out. If the Fed begins to bend to political pressure, we risk stubborn inflation, policy whiplash with every administration change, assuming we continue to have elections, and most importantly, a loss of market trust. When market confidence thins, the demand for the dollar drops. That weakens its value. Meanwhile, a politicized Fed is dropping interest rates to maintain popularity, and inflation becomes completely unanchored, so the dollar becomes even less attractive as a store of value. Why hold cash in dollars if it's going to buy you less and less over time? I hope that makes sense. How does this impact real estate? As in, why am I talking about it today? There's a vast range of ways this could play out, especially when you consider that the U.S. could lose its status as the world's reserve currency. But let me just name a few of the tangible ones. A weaker dollar leads to higher import costs. That makes building materials and construction costs higher for a country that's housing shortage is already a crisis. Currency instability would also create another panic, which could lead to rate whiplash as the next administration comes in and tries to undo the damage. That means mortgage markets, the buyers and sellers who have to deal with them, get jerked around even more. When there is that kind of uncertainty, the market freezes. We already saw this right before the election. People don't buy new homes because they're nervous. People don't move. People don't sell the home they have because they're scared of what's out there. It's basically the opposite of the wealth effect. Even if they are financially secure, if they don't feel good about their finances, they don't move. When Americans don't buy or sell homes, because it is a major financial move, because they are uncertain about their financial future because the markets are a mess, that impacts our entire economy because housing drives the GDP. Instead of going on and on, I'm going to ask you this. What does Powell and the rest of the Fed, all the governors, stand to gain by keeping interest rates high? If we think the Fed lacks accountability and is in fact evil, what is their motivation? What's the conspiracy theory here? Why are they holding interest rates high? If inflation's totally under control, what's their motive? I really do want you to chime in here because I think this could be a very interesting conversation. Now, for a little recap, last week on Real Housewives of the Central Bank. Just kidding. But anyways, this is a quick real estate related economic rundown. Ready? We saw mortgage rates drop about 30 basis points after that jobs report, and then even further after Powell came out and hinted at a September rate cut last week. So we're seeing the data finally catch up with reality in terms of a weakening labor market. Both mortgage applications and inventory are on the rise, so that should lead to a pretty fun fall housing market. Next week, I'm doing a special episode of Property Pursuits with Dave Lass. We're going to review all the different narratives that have been circulating since the election and how they would impact the real estate market. We'll discuss which ones actually played out and which ones turned out to just be nothing burgers. It's going to be fun, and you can join us anywhere, live, Wednesday at noon Pacific. You just need to register, and I'll put the link in the caption.